So today we are going to learn more about uh, um, the RStudio and R. Okay, so here this is the R GUI. So this is basically the R programming. Okay, so when you go back here, so this is the icon for the R programming. Okay, and this is basically for programming. This is the programming language which you will use. So when you open this up, this is the R GUI. This is not so user friendly GUI which we have seen earlier. We have already seen this once and we have just started doing some small programs with this. And I will also show you about this, the RStudio. So there is a difference. So normally when people start working with R programming and RStudio, there is a lot of confusions in their mind, like whether this R and this RStudio is the same or are they different. So there are a lot of confusions which comes in their mind. So both of them are related. R is the R programming language and RStudio is just the integrated development environment, which is where you could it is more user friendly environment for working with R programming. It's not like you could just only work with R, you could work with Python. So everything is integrated, but this is kind of an IDE where you could work with the R programming language. So normally people always have a confusion about what is this RStudio, what is this R programming. So whether this R and that R is all the same. So there is a confusions which exist. So just understand, and you can have your RStudio. For working in the RStudio, you need R as the R has to be installed first. But if you want to, so this is the RStudio. So if you want to work with the RStudio, you need to install R programming. So you need to install this. Only when you install this, you will be able to work with the RStudio, right? But if you are simply working with the R programming language in its own GUI, R GUI, then you don't require RStudio to be installed, okay? Because you are working with its own, its own IDE, which is there for R programming language. So this is from the CRAN download, okay? So this is what you have to understand. For the simple R programming GUI, you don't require RStudio to be installed. But say if you want a better IDE to work with, then if you are installing RStudio, the first thing which you need to do is you need to install R. Okay, so that is the difference basically. So here we have seen all this in the last section. So if you want to install RStudio, you need to install R first. Okay, so now coming back to the RStudio, because this is more user friendly. So even by seeing the if you see, okay, if you see this one and this one, you could understand. So now I think it is more clear for you. So you could understand this is the RStudio and this is the R GUI. You could, by simply seeing itself, you could see the difference between how the IDE looks. So this is kind of a more conventional or traditional one. This is kind of better, more good looking. So that's the only difference which you could feel. And there are more, you can integrate so many things extra here in the RStudio than in the normal R GUI. So that's all is a major difference between both of them. Okay, now we will explore more about RStudio. So hope you are clear with what is the difference between RStudio and R. So this is very, very important before moving over to it, because after learning data mining using R, you should be at least thorough about what is the difference between RStudio and R. So for R GUI, you just need the R programming R to be installed. But for the RStudio, the first mandatory thing is that you need to install R. Then only you'll be able to use the RStudio. Then only you'll be able to install the R studio. So that's all is the difference. So hope you understood. So this is just the IDE for R. Okay, so now coming back to this, so we will learn more about RStudio. We'll just explore more about RStudio today. So for RStudio, basically you have got various panels. Okay, so panels are the places where you could display things or use things for. So this is the source panel where you will write the code, and this is the panel where this is called as the environment panel, where you could see the results. This is the console So this is kind of your command prompt, but this is for the RStudio command prompt. So it is called the console for RStudio, and this is where you could see the plots and all whatever it is. So now sometimes when you open, you will not be able to see this source panel. So what you have to do is that you have to go to this file, and in this there is something called new file. There is something called R script. So we will see most of them, but we will try to stick on to what we need right now. So these are the R scripts which you could see. Okay, so this is one R script. So if basically if this is not here, so I'm not saving, don't save. Okay, so sometimes when you open your this thing will look like this, your whole area will look like this. So if you want your source panel, what you have to do is you need to click on the R script. So a new source panel where you could type the source, you type the code. Okay, that space will come up. Say if you're typing a sample, just a random sample of 10, okay, and say you are printing a. So if you're going to do this, if you want to save this, okay, so before moving over to it, I just want to tell you that it is always better if you are working on say R on data mining, or if you're going to learn about R, it is better to create a new project. Okay, so it is always better to create a new project. So what you could do is that you could just go to this is the project civil. So I have already created an R data mining trials. So if you want to create a new project, you can click on this. Okay, so it will ask you whether existing directory or new directory. So if you're going to create a new directory, create, say if you want to create a new project, you give the name and click OK, right? So this is what you have to do. Say, and now say I could create a new project. Say I'm clicking on the existing one, which is the R data mining. So now I'm creating it. Okay, so what happens is that, so this is kind of going to be in R data mining. So now you could say that here in the console you could see now whatever I am typing here will be loaded over to R data mining trials. This is the name. This is the name of my project, and this whole project will be with the extension .r data. Okay, it will be stored in the extension .r data. Okay, so understand that. So now if I see here, and I'm planning to say it as trial 1. Okay, and if I'm saving it, okay, what happens is that now if everything is correct, what happens? Say if this is the code which we have to type. So a is equal to say sample of 10 and print a. Say if you want to run this, basically say if I'm going to run just the first one, you can either use this control enter. So you could see here also the updations which I have played. This is which I have tried. Okay, so if I have selected these two lines and control enter, you could see this is taken and it is printed. So these two lines has been run basically here. Okay, so whatever, so it has just taken some random values every time. Okay, and say if I'm converting it to B, and you could see the changes here as well. I will show you this. Say I'm taking C. Okay, and I'm going to print C. Okay, and these two lines. The other way of running this is that you could go to the code. You have various options here. So select run selected lines, rerun the previous, run region, run selection. So there are so many different things. So if you want to run from the beginning line, you can use this. Run from line to end, you could use that. And there is an option called Control Alt R, which is nothing but run all. Say if I'm clicking on, say now I'm clicking on run selected lines, you could see here. So whatever I have run till now, it has been updated. So I have checked with A, I have checked with B, I have run it with C now. So this is the current one, C. Okay, say now I'm going to plot the C. Okay, of type B, okay, some kind of a plot. We will see this later, but just as of now, say if I'm selecting all those, okay, and or control enter, okay, so it is like in your run region you have, see here, run all, so it is actually control alt R, okay. So if I give control alt R, so you could see the updations both in the console section and in the plot section. So in the console section you could see C has been selected, so it has taken some random numbers, so every time you could see it is all different, okay, every time the values which they are taking is different, and then it is actually plotting it, okay. So it is some type B plot, okay. So if there is any plot, you could see it here in the plot section. So this is the view section, basically this is the view section, so you could see it in the view section. In the environment section you could basically see what all of the parameters, what all the values each and every parameter takes. So what is the data type of the parameters that you are using, and what are the values which they have got. So all those things will be displayed in the environment section. And the code section or the source section is where you code, basically where you type your code, and console section is where you could see how the how it is actually progressing, so what is happening basically. So that could be seen in the console sections. Hope you understood this RStudio initial setup. So when you open your RStudio, basically you have various panels. You have a source panel, you have an environment panel, and you have a console panel, and you have also got a plot panel. So this panel is basically called as a view panel, where you could view the visualizations. So this is the initial setup of how the RStudio will look like. Hope you understood this. Please try it and see, and try to play with it, okay. Try to give different values, try to give different codes, and see how it works. Thank you. So as we have seen how to just run and what are the panels which are there in the RStudio, now we will understand more about where can we see or where can we get the data sets which are already there in the RStudio, okay. So now we understood about the source panel, the environment panel, the view panel, and the console panel. Now say the first thing which I wanted to tell you is that this is something which we have already run. So there is a button called clear console. If you click on that, it will just be cleared. So here also you have a clear console, so you could just hide it, it will be clear. Here there is a clear console which I have already done, okay. So now I just wanted to tell you say, and this is the console which we have already done, so I'm just closing it, so you know where to take it if you want, right? Okay, you want to save the changes, save, yes, so it is done. So if you want a new one, you have to go here, you need to go to the R script and it will be there, okay. So hope it is all clear. So it's all clean and clear now, right? Now I'll tell you, say if I want to know the structure of a data set, say iris data set, which is very common data set, okay, it is about the eye bug, right? Say iris data set. Say if you want to know the structure of the iris data set, and say you know that iris data set consists of the sepal length, sepal width. So it's very common, petal width, petal length, and also you know that it's a very common data set. So what we could do is say I'm in the console, so str of, okay, in order to get the it is iris basically. So iris, so if it is already there, if we type this data set is basically famous, so it gives you the measurements and everything of the petal length, width, everything. So 50 flowers, 3 species of iris, so all this information. So iris setosa, versicolor, virginica, so these are the 3 different species which we are working about. Then there is another data set called iris 3 and iris. So this is what, so we are going to use iris. So if you give that, it just gives you a complete detail about, okay, how many observed variables are there, okay. So in that you have got 1 2 3 4 5 different variables are there, and 150 observations for each and every variables are there. So it just gives you the structure of that particular data set. Now say if you want to, say you're going to work on the body fat data set, okay, body fat data set. So if it is not there, basically it will not come, okay. So error, it is not there. Say this basically this body fat data set is in th.data. So if some data sets are not there, what you could do is that you could go to the tools. In that there is something called install packages. So you are going to install the packages. So here you have to install th.data. See, this is the one where we have this body fat data set is all about. So th.data, okay, and we are going to install it. Okay, so there are some thing which is happening on, it is actually downloaded, so it just shows you like it is successfully unpacked, and MD5 sums is the the encryption model which is used, so it is downloaded. So now let us try str of body fat. I'm not okay. So okay, so you cannot directly use it. So what you have to do is that, so you have to get the data from that particular package. Okay, so what you're doing is that data of, you need to get the body fat data from the package th.data which you have just downloaded. Okay, so now you could see body fat is already there, the values, it is there, it is possible. So now if you give str of body fat, so now you could see this body fat is basically coming here. Okay, so now it is actually being displayed. Okay, so now if you click on the body fat, okay, you'll be able to see the structure of the data. So there are 71 observations, and there are for each of the 10 variables you have got 71 observations, right? So this is how, if there is already a data set which is already available, you have to simply type onto it for the structure and you could just use it. But sometimes there will not be some particular data, so you need to first understand, okay, where can you get that data from. Okay, so if it is already there in the R packages, because there are almost 6,000 plus packages there in R, so it will be there basically. So if you want to install something new, basically you have to go to tools and install packages, and you need to install as and when needed. So you don't have to install all the packages. There is an option for install all and all those stuff, but you don't have to do that because it just increases the load on the software, that's all. So as and when required, you could install the packages which you want. Okay, so you know that, so once you understood that it is in this particular body fat data set is in th.data package, you could just install that particular package, and that you can load this package. So this is, you're just loading the package, and you could see the structure of that particular data set. It will show you. Okay, so there are 71 observations, and there are 10 different variables. So age, dx, fat. So there are 10 different variables, and each of the variable or attribute has got 71 observations. That is what it says. Hope you understood this session. Thank you so much. Hi, also in this we will see an example about, okay, how to import and export the data, import the data into a CSV file and export it from CSV file. So once we deal about data, we should also be able to know how we could deal with the CSV file. So I have just noted the variables here. What are the, say we have a variable 1, okay. So I have already saved this in the data, R data mining trials, okay, and its name is trial2.r. okay. So if you want to run it parallelly, what you have to do is control enter. So you could see that it's a variable 1 and some random numeric values has been taken here. Okay, so its data set is sample of 5 is basically what is that, data which is numeric, and we have variable 1. Say if you give control enter, it is nothing but each and every value is taken by 10. Now you have something called we are taking some character data, so var3, okay. So we are saving it and we are running it, control enter. So you could see it is numerical data, and here it is, so it's real values basically, and here we have character data. So we have 3 different variables, variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. One is just integer data, the other one is real data, and next one is character data, right? And now what we are going to do is that we are going to create a data frame. So data frame is something where you could put all the three together. Okay, so you can see the similar thing in Python as well. So data frames are like, some data structures which will really help you to work with the data by integrating them all together in one frame, right? So here I'm going to take the df1. So you could see here there is a df1 created. So it has got 3 variables basically. So these are the 3 variables, and each of them has got 5 different observations. So exactly what we have seen the structure of a data. So here we are seeing the structure of the data frame. Okay. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to name them. Okay. Say we want to name them. That means each and every value in the data frame we are going to name it, so label it. Okay, so that is what we are going to do it. So here you could see, so now we are not calling it as variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. Instead we have got variable dot integer, variable dot number, variable dot character, so it is easier for us to understand. So whenever the naming conventions are really important when it comes to coding. So whenever we are coding something, say we are doing some particular work, even if we leave that particular in the middle of that project or whatever it is, say if someone pops in, he should be able to understand what is happening. So our comments and the variable name, the naming conventions which we have used in the coding has to be so clear that everybody should be able to understand it so nicely. So whenever you're coding something, please make sure that you are using the proper comments and you're using proper naming conventions so that easier for everyone. So this is just we have labeled it properly so that everyone can understand. And then what we are going to do is that, okay, so we are going to write it. So when I'm going to write it, I'm just going to show you here. So this is the file, this is the path, okay, where I'm using. So I'm taking this path, okay, I'm just showing you, okay, how you could create. Okay, so what you're going to do is that you're going to write the df1, that is a data frame, into a CSV file. That is what you're going to do. Okay, so I have actually pasted, say this is the path where my R data mining trials is there. So I simply clicked over here, so I got this path. I'm just copying that particular path. Okay, and I'm changing the symbols. So here it has to be /. So I'm just changing the symbols here. Okay, so now I am in the folder R data mining trials. Now I need to write it into a CSV file. So say I'm giving / and say my CSV file is something like df1, okay, or df underscore trial, okay, df underscore trial dot CSV file. So this is what I need the name. Okay, so df underscore trial dot CSV file, and row names is equal to false. Okay, so this we will see more about that later. But okay, for this particular thing I could just control enter. So now it is. So otherwise, if this path is not correct, then it will throw you a lot of errors. So make sure that wherever be your, say if you have created, I have created a project, right? We have seen in the last so I have created a project in the folder. This is the folder. So this is where I'm going to put all my details, right? So now when you go back to this file, you could see there is a dftrial.csv which is created. You could see, so I have variable int, variable num, and variable character with the values assigned in it. So this is the CSV which is created. So now I have written the data into the dftrial.csv. So this is created automatically, right? Now what you have to do, now what you're going to do is that you are going to print them. Okay, so for printing them, so you have actually imported the data. Now I want to show you, how we could export the data from the CSV. Okay, so I'm just taking the same path, okay, and I'm just taking the same path and I'm putting it into another data frame. Okay, so that it is easier for me to control enter. Okay, so now you could see df2 is created with the same values, integer, and all these values are printed. Okay, so that you will understand that you are actually taking the values and you're putting it into another data frame, df2. That is what. So you are exporting the values. Okay, you are taking the values from a CSV file and you are reading it into a data frame. Now you are going to print the df2. Okay, you're going to print the df2. That is what you're going to do. So if you simply click over there, and you could see here that now the values are basically read. So these values are printed here. Okay, in the console section you could see that the values are printed. So these values are basically printed from the df_trial.csv file, right? So this is what you have to understand. So now you have put the values into the loaded the values into a CSV file, and you have also seen how to take the values from the CSV file. So understand there are two major functions. One is write.csv and one is read.csv, and you could also use, with the help of the data frames, you could basically use this. So this is how you will be importing and exporting the data from a CSV file. Hope it is clear for you.